Welcome students for this second part of the module 5, that is session 6. Okay, so we'll see the syllabus here, what is there in the part B. Actually it is a old syllabus I kept there. So the part B of this module 5, if you see here, so it is totally related with the generic DSS model here. So far we came across the words like generic DSS software or hardware. Okay, so we have also came across generic DSS software, how to what do you mean by that one. Okay, so in the previous some of the parts we came across this one. So here today we can see, so what could be the scope of this generic DSS model here, like hardware or software architecture. So most importantly we'll have to study here is the recovery strategy and simple call through the DSS and analysis report. So these are the some important parts we are going to cover here. So let us see one by one. So normally this chapter is going to explain about the functionalities of hypothetical digital switch. Hypothetical means it is a theoretical one, not actually the practical. So we can say to some extent the ideal case. And here it will explain the overall hardware and software architectures of typical class 5 switch. So class 5 is a type of common office. In that what kind of switch we got, that is called class 5 switch. So concerned with that we are going to study its with respect to that one we are going to study its hardware or software architectures in this particularly in this part. So let us see the scope here. So this study creates a generic DSS and its hardware and software architectures that you can see. We will also focus on the typical calls through the switch, which are traced to reveal the functionalities of operational DSS. So this is a very important part guys in this part B of the fifth module that we are going to study here. Mostly at the end of the this one we can get this part of the part 2. System recovery strategy of hypothetical digital switch. So that is also another important part we are going to study in as a middle part of this second part of the module 5 here. Okay, we'll see one by one. So this is the first very important part we are going to look at here in this session 6 of this DSS. So the figure will show the hardware architecture of the hypothetical digital switch. So guys, you will get the question something like discuss in detail the hardware architecture of a typical generic DSS, generic digital switch. In that case you supposed to draw this diagram, okay, and brief about this one, and will explain at each level what are the things are there. Hardware architecture is going to resemble are going to look at each of the levels here. So how to brief about this one, how to explain about this, that is a hardware architecture. So this already guys this whole thing already we have seen in the last the part 1 of the model 5. So 3 level controls, no, the first level we are getting totally the hardwares there, having interface controllers interfacing with line modules, trunk modules, etc. that we came across in the first level. The second level we got the NCP, which are interconnected with the CP also. Then the last one we got the level 3. Okay, here the arrangement is quite different here. So as far as the hardware is concerned, the first level you can see uh, line modules, trunk modules, and remote module, etc. are directly interfacing with the interface controller. Okay, and this interface controller via NCP or not via NCP, directly or indirectly, it is connected with the switching fabric SP. This we already seen in a different version of the this same similar block diagram in the last part. Okay, so that is like that we will be having more number of ICs here. Right? Here we are observing IC1 to ICN here. Similarly, in the second or middle part, you can see here that is the heart of the DSS. You can say hypothetical digital switch containing NCP1 to NCPN network control processors are there, which are interfacing with connected to interface controllers at the left side, and at the right side they are also connected to the switching fabric. There is a different version of the connection which has been shown here, but rest of that the diagram is going to look to be similar. So it is also connected to each of the NCP is also connected to the central processor. Okay. So the last level we come across the central processor. Okay, switching fabric is also coming, or you can say it is shared between the level 1 and level 2. Okay, in the level 3 at the bottom we actually got there the last figure, last part. So here it has been shown on the top. It is connected with the disk for the storage purpose, and also it is connected with the maintenance control software, printers, which are the output devices, tape units, which are also the output devices here for the storage purpose. So disk for the backup purpose. Okay. So this is how we can brief about the given block diagram here. So guys, you have to neatly practice the block diagrams here. So let us see how to explain each of these things here. So hypothetical DSS is actually a quasi-distributed control architecture. In the last session only with respect to the same diagram I explained what we mean by quasi-distributed control architecture. So one thing we can figure out here for very rough explanation for the quasi-distributed means. So nowadays we are you might have heard about that quad core or quadra core or double core, something like that. Uh, the as the name before you are going to take the processors. Similarly, here we have the similar name for the using here as a to indicate the quasi distributed control architecture means everything the functionalities are distributed. Uh, Blocks are distributed in a isolated manner, but the thing is that the quasi concept will be there here. Okay, so that details about that already I discussed. If you want, you can figure it out by referring to that video or to the Google there. So the first one, the central processor. Let us see what are its main duties here. It mainly supports secondary processors. So in our case, the secondary processors are NCPs. NCPs are here acting like secondary processors, and all we know that to which kind of processors we are going to call as secondary processors. Okay, secondary processors are those which are handling the functions. You can say before they will hampered, the CP will not come into picture. CP will come into picture only when they will get hampered. So that's why CP is a primary processor. Secondary processors something like the soldiers are coming into picture first, then later the kings. The king here is a CP, but NCPs are your soldiers here. And why they are called secondary processors? Because the one reason we can tell the most of the database will be stored with NCPs here itself. First reason. Okay, listen here carefully. Why NCPs are called as secondary processors? The most of the relational or distributed database is residing with NCPs. The second reason, uh, NCP is going to look after some very important functions like uh, call connection or call supervisory operation. That is the one thing. And second thing, recovery operations. We have seen in the last some of the videos related to the part 1 of module 5, 3 levels recovery, system recovery. In that case, system recovery you have seen, where you have seen how NCPs are going to play very important role. Okay, so because of these two reasons, one reason database, second reason recovery. So these are the two very important functions of the NCPs. Okay, so that will be sufficient to justify NCPs to be called as secondary processors. And another reason we can tell, the third reason, because the NCPs are normally we already learned about this one. Similar thing also we can add here to in order to elaborate the elaborate your answers here. Okay. So secondary process, because NCPs are normally connected, because NCP1 to NCPN, many NCPs will be there, and each NCP is going to look after a set of line modules or trunk modules like that. If one NCP will be hampered, then sorry, that group of TMs or LMs will be uh, affected. Okay. So in order to avoid that, if one of the NCP will be hampered, another NCP will take care of its function. Now that's why normally they will be connected in the fashion of master and slave. If one of the slave will hampered, master will come into picture to take its responsibility. If master will be hampered, then CP will come into picture. So this is where the CP will be making it as a primary processor and secondary processor. That's why NCPs are called secondary processors. Okay. So hope these three reasons are sufficient to call your NCPs are secondary processors. So another, the main feature you can see here, controls the high level functions of the switch and supports operation, administration and maintenance. That is known as OA and M functions. That is operation, it's a call supervisory operation, that is one thing. Administration means, so the central processor, we are discussing the central processor, it has to administer the whole functions, and maintenance functions. It is also residing, because in the last figure we have seen no maintenance software will be there. Okay. So another one, it controls the system recovery during critical failures. Critical failures means if one of the NCP will fail or one of the line modules or trunk modules will fail, which are affecting the group of affecting the normal area for the call supervisory operation is hampered. In that case, the CPU will come into picture. So to maintain subscriber and office data, supports billing system, that already explained. The central processor, it has that one, because that data is already is there in the level 2. The level 3, that is in the central processor also, it is going to maintain one master copy with it, because in that case the if NCPs will fail, no, then you cannot access the database there. So that's why the central processor is going to maintain one of its copy now to support normal operations. So next we will come across NCPs, which are already explained, known as secondary processors. Provides call processing functions, helps in setting up the path through the switching fabric. Okay, this already we studied in detail. Similar explanation we can add guys here. Okay, see in the part 2 of this module 5, most of the things will get as you already learned it. Just recall, the similar things or concepts will be coming here. You simply have to recall and start continuing the elaboration or explanation about this one. So here what you can do, provide call processing functions in call supervisor operation. How NCPs are going to support that one, we can tell about that. So it's something like you will start getting the call request. First it will go to LM in the level 1, then through interface controller. So what is happening in the LM, authentication, line fault, everything you can say that one. Then through, because based on the marks we can think of it how we can elaborate that, from where you can drag the information and put it in your answer, that's all. Then it will be directed to the level 2, that is in the NCP, through interface controller to access the data, subscriber data there, to decide the features, special field circuits are attached or not, that will be decided by the LM with the help of NCP's instruction. Okay, so all those things we can explain here, and the path will be set up through the switching fabric if it is a new call or new number if you are going to call. Otherwise, old established shortest path will be accessed from the database kept on the NCP, like that. The second one, it is a duplicable, and depending on the desired size of the classified CO, the digital switch may use a number of such processors. So means uh, the CO size means it is decided by the how many NCPs you need, because each NCP is costs. Duplicable means how many such NCP models you want here. for the reliable operation of the class 5 central office. The third one, interface with the ICs and provide medium level call processing support. See, you can guys look here and try to understand here what you mean by medium uh, sorry medium level call processing support with help of IC. Just now I explained how the call request from the subscriber through LM or TM through IC, it will be routed to the NCP, and what NCP is going to play its role until it will establish the shortest path. That is called medium level call processing support. Okay. So NCP interfaces with CP and other NCPs to update call paths on regular basis. Call paths here means the shortest call paths, so that the NCPs can get global view of all calls. So it's something like if you want somebody will make any call request, so whatever the calls he has made so far, whose call paths, shortest paths will be updated in its database, so that without wasting any time, your call will be got connected. So these are the four important features, or you can say the functions of the NCPs at the level 2. So next in the level 1, now we'll slowly going there, the interface controllers. So what is its main job here? So these are processor based controllers which acts like concentrator of all incoming lines or trunks. So concentrators means they are directing the heavy traffic towards the trunks which are free. Okay, and we learned from the some of the previous models that all the trunks are not busy or not free. Okay, all the trunks are not busy. During peak hours only we can think that all the trunks are busy. Means in most of the time of the traffic, uh, most of the trunks are free. So whenever the call request will come, the trunk will be assigned. So that's why that will be done with the help of concentrator here. You can see. So concentrator, what it will do, it will direct or you can say route the heavy traffic during peak hours towards the incoming lines, or towards the trunks which are free. Okay, that is actually instructed or directed by the ICs, interface controllers, and ICs are instructed by the NCPs. Like that hierarchy will be there. It uses the time multiplexed output to the NCPs and provide time switching functions. Means their operation is based on the time here. So next one is interface models here. So normally these will contain line models and trunk models here. Line modules may terminate on a single or group of lines. Okay, and modern DSS use line cards or processor driven. Line card means, guys, you have discussed a lot about this one. This will contain the what you can say firmware. It will contain the firmware embedded in it, and it is going to perform the supervisor operation, line fault checking, line terminating equipment checking, testing, updating the line paths, and deciding the special features for the particular subscriber authentication. Everything will be done at the line card. Line card is something like where your one single subscriber line or good part subscriber lines are going to terminate. So that's why it is known as a processor driven here. Trunk modules interface different types of trunks to the DSS like ISDN. Next we'll come across the switching fabric. So let us see its some of the functions here. So most DSS use at least one space or S switch. That is switching fabric. It is also known as a space switch. That we already know it, because it contains a lot of cross points, or you can see the switches. Okay, each cross point is acting like a switch, which are spread. Millions and millions of cross points are spread in a space there, in a large size. Okay, that's what is known as switching fabric. Geographically, lot of cross points will exist. for that purpose they are using for that reason they are going to call switching fabric as a switch. The concentrators in the ICs are usually time driven. The last here only we have seen the ICs are time multiplexed with respect to NCPs. So that's why ICs are acting like T switches. Switching fabric is acting like a S switch. The S switch is usually accessible to all NCPs. Sometimes the switching fabric is divided for use by different NCPs. Means different NCPs are going to deliberate access or dedicated access to some of the fixed number of cross points available in the fabrics. So in either case, the dynamic image of the entire network usage or idle status for the switching fabric is maintained by CP of the digital switching system. So in either case, that network, how the cross points and the switching fabric got connected, its image will be maintained by the CPU itself. So this is how here the switching fabric is going to, what you can say, you have to explain here is it is acting like a space switch, and it will be helping you to provide either TST or STS versions of the switching networks, which are possible with help of the switching fabric here. So next one is a software architecture. So guys, here we want to pause here to some extent before we'll advance it to the software architecture of a generic DSS model. So far we covered hardware architecture. Okay, so that is a very important part we covered. So guys, you need to practice the block diagram, which is very much similar to the three-level control of the DSS what we covered in the first part of the module 5. Except that the arrangement of the all the three levels will be little bit different here, and how to brief about that block diagram after drawing it in detail and how to explain it, that's how just we covered here. So in the next session we are going to see the software architecture in detail. Thank you.